And we should be live. Welcome to the stream.
Ooh, hello. Psychotechnologies live!
Yay! This is good.
Yeah, that looks like it's recording. Looks like we're recording.
Yeah. Good stuff. You got real technology and psychotechnology all at once.
Yeah.
So did you have anything to start with, or should I just jump in with something random?
Jump in.
Yeah, so I was watching this guy on the Stoa talk about psychotechnologies, about how he makes his own. I should have sent you the video. I meant to. I'm aware we're live, so I'm gonna say it was very interesting. It's like he's just doing this thing where he's just kind of like building it. I guess just like kind of how we are, where we're just like building it as we want or as we need.
There's definitely something to be said for building one's own tools. There's definitely something rewarding there. There's also something where I uniquely know my own problem set, and so when I build my tools, they're pretty damn good for me.
Yeah, I think that's always balanced with, like you building your own custom tools are like amazing, but that's always balanced against, like you're the one building it and you have all the flaws. All that is an equation in like how much time and effort is it going to take for you to be skilled enough to actually do the things. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like, yeah, like I want to build, like I try other people's stuff and I shamelessly steal it, but like I love your Jhana stuff, and I just like kind of just did that. But yeah, they're very like scared of it. They're very of like. Yeah, like, because, like, the psychotechnologies, like, let's say the tradition, so they're talking, like, Tai Chi or whatever they call it, or, and, like, the various, like meditation traditions.
They've been around a long time.
They've been around a long time, but it's also, like, it's, like, someone else did that, and a bunch of people have used it for a long time, and people are still using it, so, like, it gives them, like, the sense of safety.
There is something kind of good about like this tried and true long-term tested tradition makes for like, okay, great. However, there's also the trap of thinking just because something is old, therefore this is old and therefore it is good.
Yeah.
There are two fools. The first says this is old, therefore it is good, and the second says this is new and therefore it is better.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely like switch around between those where there's like, it's like when I was younger it was like this wisdom came from above and it's like revelation and it's like beyond human understanding, and like now that I've been like doing this for a while, it's very much just like, okay, like a guy 2,000, 3,000, whatever, or 100 years ago or however many years ago, like just did this and then people just kept doing it.
There's a mix of, I'm super impressed that a few thousand years ago someone wrote down some like what seems to be very foundational structures of the mind, like the jhanas or the like some base states like the stages of insight, and then that is like super impressive. It lasted so long because it was accurate in some way, balanced with the fact that he was just some guy writing what he thought the case was.
Yeah.
Like me writing, I think it is like this, and everyone going like 2,000 years later, being like, Eliot's magical method. It wrote it 2,000 years ago. It survived this long because it works. It must be the gospel of truth.
Yeah, but then like sometimes you meet the people and it's just like a bunch of idiots doing something like they haven't thought it through, and you're like, maybe it's idiots all the way, like all the way down.
Was it Archimedes or Galileo one of the people who did like planetary motion published ovular motion and said this can't be true because it's not circles, but I figured I would publish my work in the hopes that someone else can build on it and work out how it is in fact circles, the purely natural perfect shape that the heavens must be made of. Kepler, I think, possibly. Anyway. He published it with the like explicitly this can't be right, but here's where I'm up to, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's so interesting when you have those. I had that when I was younger of 0.9 infinity, like 0.9 repeating equals 1.
Mm-hmm.
And like when I first like sort of was like thinking about it, I'm like, okay, obviously this isn't true, but like I can't disprove it. And like I legitimately like tried. I got like a bunch of like, you know, like I like tried to find like just like one instance where it wasn't true, and like I really couldn't do it. And I'm just like, oh, like I must be dumb. Like I just can't figure it out because it's like ridiculous. Like it's ridiculous. Yeah, there's something about that, like of that like mindset shift of like that framing. Do you still have that? Like, do you still have like things where you're like, obviously this isn't true, but all the evidence points to it?
I'm not sure. I definitely have things that I see as true because I have seen the evidence, but are hard to prove to other people.
Mm-hmm.
So, like patterns of the mind, like the way in which I have like a like mixed, strong confidence in metaphysical anatomy type things, which is that the shape of our psychological and like spiritual, mental, whatever pathology starts playing out into our bodies and our like physical ailments. And there's a like really strong version of that, which is like every single disease ever is caused by your own mental phenomena.
Your own psyche.
And there's like a weaker thing, which is like sometimes your mental phenomena, if you investigate them, will clear out your physical phenomena. Like, and obviously we're talking about physical changes, and so if you lose an arm, it's not going to grow back. But there's the really strong negative version, which is people who have cancer have caused their own cancer with some mental shape that they are holding, and that's really dangerous. And like, I think that's probably true, but hard to prove in some tricky like that's so mean. How dare you say that sort of way?
Yeah, like just intuitively, I feel like there's a connection, but yeah, it's like I think figuring out exactly like what that relationship is like requires like actual like testing and stuff, which is hard to do.
Right. So what I do have is like an overwhelming number of anecdotes that like start painting little pixels on the elephant, and here I am sitting here going like, but I have all these pixels. It looks like an elephant.
So tell me about this, because I'm like open to this. Like I definitely think like there is some relationship, but like I'm very like I'm almost skeptical that people kind of know what that is, or can have like actual insight into it.
So it's kind of tricky as well, because these phenomena can be kind of slippery. So let's say you are having an argument with your wife, you know, and that's like a masculine and feminine. You have a disagreement with your feminine other half. Like, let's say we could find a similarity between that argument and an argument you might have had with your mother, and so your relationship to your feminine.
That happens.
Okay, right, and then so in the body we put the feminine on the left hand side and the masculine on the right hand side, and depending on what the argument is, it could actually show up in multiple places in the body. Like it could be like something like your left hand is slightly heavier than your right hand, or it could be like your lungs on the left seem to get more fluid in them than the lungs on the right, or something. And the argument, or it's unfortunately, like, if you conceptualize a particular argument in one way, you may have the first one, and in another way you may have the second one, right? Because it's the relationship between the right side of your body and like the subset of the way that you look at the problem and the problem. So, like, let's say you're yelling at your wife because you're angry, right? Is that come into your body as heat? Does it come into your body as like resentment? Or does it come into your body as judgment? And each of those might show up in the body slightly differently. So it's kind of the map that is like, oh, anger shows up like this, has to start being very nuanced, because anger shows up like this, but judgment shows up like that, and resentment shows up like that. And so if I'm like, oh, anger against your wife is going to appear like in your shoulder or something, well, that's not it. It's
okay.
Very nuanced.
So let's concrete this. Like, let's give an example.
Yeah.
See if we can like turn this into something operational a little bit. Maybe make some testable predictions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And unfortunately, they get tricky to make, because, like I said, the difference between judgment and resentment could be enough that it appears in a different location in the body. And so, and this isn't meant to like make an infinitely defensible position where anything can eventually. It's meant to be like, oh, it's actually kind of nuanced. Some different people have different maps of the body and what might correspond to different parts of the body, right? So, for example, there's a map that, anger will show up as heat, right? In
like specific places, I think, right?
Yeah, depending on what you're angry at and who's angry and what you're angry about and like anger towards, it may show up in different places in the body. And also past conditioning, like, for example, if you are angry at your family, you probably, I imagine you would get that at your lower back. At your family for when you were growing up. Like as a child, you probably get that in your lower back. If you are angry about how burdensome the world feels, I imagine you'll get that in your shoulders, in the back of your shoulders, and it'll be a heat.
Okay, so the lower back is like,
right.
So like the shoulders thing. Like this one I definitely get, where people, like there are people who feel like they're, or even me, when like I feel like I have all these like things I'm taking on, and like I have to carry so much. It starts to like slouch. Yeah, and like that one's definitely correlation, and like they're correlated both ways, right? So if I fix my posture, I'm able to like deal with that burden better, and then if I'm dealing with the burden better, like sometimes I'll just like do like a meditation or something, and then like my spine just like straightens.
Right.
And they're all like straighten your spine before you do the meditation, but actually I really like it the other way around, because then I know I'm doing it right. When my body just starts to like, it's actually more comfortable to sit up straight and feel strong and and resilient.
I was talking to someone just recently, and he had we were exploring tension in the body, and he had like a very strong smile on, and I asked him about it, and what we noticed is that he didn't just have like a smile, he had like a forced smile. And I was like, well, we do want to smile. Like I want to be a smiling person, but if I have to like pull on my mouth to get there, then I'm like adding tension that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
And so if I load all that tension and just let a like nice simple smile appear, it will be easier to hold. I won't have to like fight like a nervousness or something to hold a smile. I can just like have the simple smile.
Yeah.
It may sort of still look like a smile at the end, but that second one is going to be way better because it will exist without the tension underneath.
Yeah, you kind of want that smile to come from within.
Yes.
It's really cool. Like, as my kid Jack, like he's a baby and he's just 3 months, and so he's like just started to laugh, and so his smiles and his laughs are like
really like, genuine.
They're very genuine, and they're often like they look like almost involuntary, or like we're doing a thing and then he just like smiles because like that's what he's doing.
sort of like a bottom-up discovery of like, this is nice.
Yeah. Yeah, like it just happens. Like he's not like I sometimes like sort of do that like fake smile, which I think I should stop doing. Where it's just like, hey, where I'm like, it's not fake, but it's like I'm like,
Exaggerated or attitude.
yeah, like I'm like exaggerating my expressions because he's still new to this
You can
world.
think of it as like a two-way street, right? You can lead with the expression and then the emotion comes, or you can
Yeah.
lead with the and then the expression comes.
Yeah.
I definitely like my tone of voice will naturally change. If I go into like, let me guide us through meditation, my voice will naturally go to that like, soft, gentle place. It's
Yeah.
not that I'm trying to make my voice soft and gentle and meditative. It's like, oh, this is what I intend to do, and so my voice is going to go over like that. Right.
Yeah.
But maps. We're talking about the body. We're talking about like maps in the body. So there is one map that proposes that the body sort of exists as a timeline, where from the root chakra at the base of the spine, or the base between the legs, all the way up to the head is from the past to the future. So we've got the third eye over here, and everyone knows the third eye is what you use to see the future. Like that's
Oh,
just
is that what it is?
Huh?
Is that what it is? Okay. Because I keep feeling like energy here, but it hasn't like broken through yet.
Future vision is sort of associated with the third eye, or like insight, or like
Okay.
some like great wisdom.
So you're like seeing out of your forehead?
Look, it's complicated. There are multiple different third eye locations. There's one that is literally between the eyes, and there's one that's like further back and in the middle, like if you imagine like in there, it's
For like
actually inside the head, and there's one that's like more like foreheady. And I'm not clear on whether the traditions are sort of pointing to the same thing, and some people feel it in slightly different places, or if they're pointing to a different phenomenon. Anyway, there are multiple traditions. This is the future. Further down the body is more like the past, like your origins. There's a book, Eastern Body, Western Mind, and it plots this as like progression over your lifetime. So if you have stuff going wrong in the first, and it's very specific with the years, the like age range, but I'm going to get this wrong. The first 12 months, you can expect it in the first chakra, or the lower bowel gut sort of, the next 2 years is the
Sorry,
the next
slow
chakra.
down a little bit and go back.
Yeah.
What is this? So this is like the Kundalini you're referring
It's
to?
proposed a timeline of like when you got your trauma and where you should expect it to appear in the body.
Okay.
So if you had a very bad 2 to 5, you should expect it to be between the diaphragm and the gut. If you had a very bad, different era of life, you should expect it to appear in various bits of the body.
Okay. That's interesting.
That's sort of like, and that's more. It's
Oh,
more
this parallels like Freud stuff.
Yes.
Because like you have the different, like you have the oral fixation, anal fixation,
Probably,
things like that. Like I don't know if it actually parallels it, but
yeah.
I'm just seeing like someone in like the let's say the psychology world is also kind of gonna see some of this phenomenon in different ways.
Right. So that's one map, because past at the bottom, future at the top.
Okay.
Right. I would put the diaphragm as the still point of the present moment. And interesting.
Like the solar plexus diaphragm.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes. Solar plexus diaphragm.
Yeah.
One under.
That's the dew chakra. the dew chakra. I think it's the yellow one.
The solar plexus chakra, yes, yellow.
Yeah.
Is it the dew chakra? Because it's your ego, it's your personal agency. It's the I want this.
Yeah. Yeah. Self-esteem, confidence. It's like when you're doing stuff. That's the chakra that's activated. Versus like this one is like when you're trying to predict or see the future.
Right. That's correct. So there's a map that looks sort of like this, past, present, and future in that way.
Yeah.
There is a proposal that phenomena at the front of the body is more forwards, like in the middle plane of the body is more present, and in the back is in the past. So if you have phenomena like I said, in your childhood, your family didn't support you when you were around 2, or you felt, it's not that they did or didn't, it's that you felt like they did or didn't, then you can expect it to appear in the lower back, right?
Okay.
So feeling
to test that. Yeah. Maybe our audience members can test that.
Well, one way to test it is to find people who may have had this sort of pathology and ask them where in the body they might feel it. Another way is to like imagine if you were a 2-year-old feeling unsupported by your family, and then imagine if you were a 5-year-old feeling unsupported by your family, and maybe to add to that, and feeling angry about it, right? Now imagine where in the body you might feel angry about. You might be able to start building the map.
Mm.
Like imagine if you were be looking into the future and you expect that in the future people won't support you. Where are you going to feel that in the body?
Wait, so going back to the 2-year-old, so would you expect this to happen in like 2 to 5-year-olds? Like I know like a 2-year-old.
So I am curious. I
know her parents.
I don't know how the pathology happens when you're still growing. All I know is from the books I've read, once you're already grown, where do you project it into?
Okay.
So I would love to study a 2-year-old, 5-year-old, whatever. I know of sometimes you have the phenomena of kids and their ailments, like allergies or like pain in the body. So I know of a kid with a stomach ache all the time, and I'm like, oh, I'm wondering what's going on there.
Stomach ache is usually like social stuff. Like this is like IBS or the stomach chakra, which is the...
Right. So with a great question mark, proposing that IBS is actually connected to something, scientifically we don't actually know the cause of IBS.
It's definitely very much stress related. Like It's not necessarily all stress, but like 100%. Like everyone I know with IBS is like...
Right. So here's a nice test for that. Would you expect someone who climbed a lot of mountains and found that very stressful, like literal mountains?
No. It's social stress.
Right. It's got to be social stress. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's there's a subset of stress that is seems to cause IBS than other stress. That's interesting. Would you expect it more to be family stress or community stress?
I think those things are pretty heavily correlated. Like...
Yeah, okay.
Like it's rare people have like good familial relationships and then bad communal or vice versa, unless there's like something like really like sketchy going on.
Right. So we can keep going. Other maps. So Chinese medicine put different emotions into each organ. So this is a completely different map. So we've got the past, present, future thing going on. We've got reflexology. Oh, I can add reflexology here. Right, so reflexology, if you ever see a picture of the reflexology foot, at the toes, at the like top of the map is like your head, and then all the way down, your body is sort of laid out till the back of your heel is like the bottom of your heel.
Yeah. I was under the impression that this was not accurate.
Look, it's a pseudoscience. It's not gonna be perfect, but the proposal is, like I said, the back to the front of the body is the past to the future. The bottom to the top of the body is past to the future as well. The plane of the foot as well, you've got the past to the future. But also the organs there as well. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking at the chart now. I definitely see this as like sort of like trivially like obviously true in the sense that like the lower part of your body is like let's say the root of which is like the sacrum, like the legs and stuff, which will branch out there, like that is fear, right? Like that is just basic like I'm moving, right? Like your brain is very much like, oh, most of the stuff that happens in your brain is like not real, like it's imagination. Like even when you're thinking, like you do, like most of the time it's just inaccurate, and then you get to the answer and you're like, oh, okay, like this is the answer.
Right.
So like most of the time you're just fantasizing.
Maybe one way to say this is it's obviously true, but weakly true. Like it's quite weak in what you should expect causally from the fact that the past, present, future is located in the body in this way.
Not weak. It's strong, right? Like it's like your legs, like boxers, you know, or any sport really. Like the legs are just like you got to get that footwork down, right? But you're not. Maybe while you're training, you think about the footwork, but like when you're doing this stuff, you're not thinking about the footwork. because your thoughts are too slow. Like you can't think about it.
The consciousness process is not good at intuitively responding in real time.
Like if somebody's like throwing a punch at you and you're like gonna like think about what to do, like you
there's
don't
a
have
punch.
time. Like you either moved or you didn't.
Yeah.
And so like that's like, you know, your like the base of your spine has got like, I don't want to say it's its own brain, but it's like it's kind of like its own brain, right? Where it's like you're having reflexes that it will like your leg, you have spinal reflexes that don't go to the brain. Like they can, I don't know if they can bypass the spine, but they can go at the very least they go through the base of the spine, so they don't have to go all the way up to the top and all the way back down again. So a lot of times your legs are just doing stuff, and that's reflex. Like they're just doing stuff because that's what they've been trained to do. Like that's the past. Like they're always living in the past, and your head is always living in the future.
Cautious. I wouldn't quite say that fear is in the legs or fear is in the lower body. I personally have a phenomena that fear causes a contraction and upwards moving force, which is possibly, I don't think it's necessarily universal, but it's something like, as fear comes into my experience, my thinking speeds up. Like there's a contraction and moving upwards, like what are we going to do about this?
It's a contraction, but it's coming from down and moving upwards. I don't know, I don't want to say like fear's not technically in the legs, like it's like that's amygdala and stuff, right?
Any emotion can appear all over the body, I would say.
Yeah, but it's pre-fear, right? Like your legs are doing stuff before your amygdala, like you're, you know, people like they have this phenomenon, like they're running away before they know, before they realize they're scared, right? Like it's so fear that it's pre-fear or something.
So I would have said that my experience was sort of a rising sensation from roughly my chest area, contracting and moving up the base of my spine, up my spine into my head. And you're proposing that it starts even lower. I'll have to go investigate.
So I do think that there, like, I do think that like on a very like primal level, like things like there are stimulus that happens that comes like from the legs or something beforehand, but also for this one it's still coming from downwards and moving upwards, right?
What
so
about,
like even if it's coming from your heart, either that's when you're noticing it, or like there's a block, like because it like if your chakras are aligned, you should like it should feel, you know, like it doesn't really, like things don't originate from a place if you're aligned, right? Like it's kind of,
well, so there's one thing to propose it originates somewhere, and another to propose it travels through, right? So if it starts in your legs and moves all the way up your body, then you have something blocking it in the middle. Like maybe you hold your diaphragm really tight, and so fear kind of comes up and like gets stuck in your diaphragm.
Yeah.
Like you've got like a closed gate in some sense.
Yeah.
You need to help it open so that you can process that thing and have it travel through.
Yeah. The chakra, whenever I think of the chakras and opening the gates, I'm always thinking of the Avatar.
Yeah.
The Last Airbender.
Beautiful video.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's so good. And then like when I was first time I saw the show, I'm like, yeah, like he's like, and then you have to like let go of all these things and just like be okay with your friends dying. And he's like, no, and I'm like, yeah, obviously not. This is like the wrong thing to do. But like now going back, I'm like, yeah, he definitely should have done that. Like he fucked up.
Yeah, they definitely built a lot of solid spirituality into that show. It was well done.
Yeah.
Right. So maps of the body. Other maps.
Yeah. So other maps. So we have like the shoulder stuff. But you said like things like I don't know if you want to go here, but like the things with like the cancer and stuff, which is like I'm gonna push back a little on that because.
I want to be cautious and say I don't fully understand the cancer thing yet. I need to keep investigating, but my investigations would look something like this: find someone who is having some sort of cancer phenomenon.
So I've actually had cancer, so we can talk about that. Yeah.
Right.
We'll use me as an example because I'm not easily offended.
You still have cancer?
No, not since last time I checked.
So it would be something like, find someone who's having a cancer-like phenomenon. Find out where in the body they are having it. And then investigate basically every map I know of that would connect to that part of the body. So, for example, the Chinese medicine puts each organ in a meridian chain as a particular emotion. Well, there's five main emotional channels. The locations of the body, like left and right being left being female, left being feminine, and right being masculine, and your relationship to that. And that can be like your parents, or it can be yourself, or the other gender. So then I'd look at that map. What else would I look at?
Yeah, so sort of break this down, because the meridian stuff also is, my understanding is that it's not so accurate. They've done because acupuncture uses the meridian lines, but if I'm at least I haven't been paying attention to the studies and stuff.
So
but
it's
last
a bit
time
like
I checked,
anatomy, where everyone sort of has slightly different anatomy, like a bit more muscle here, a bit less muscle there. Like some people have extra bones.
Yeah, but let's say Western
meridians to be a little bit out sometimes.
Like the Western stuff, like the massage or the physio things, osteo, things like that. They everybody's different, but their system sort of accounts for all the differences. We all have the same muscles in the same places more or less, and the same bones. There's a couple bones. Sometimes the nerve goes through different places, but
some people have an extra muscle here and there.
Here and there, like this one. So a lot of people have this one. So I only have one here.
I have that.
Or I only have two, I think. And some people are missing one or have an extra one. I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, I think I have two, or I have anyway. Yes.
Yeah. I met a guy and he had it was his anatomy was actually different, but it's so little. It's a tendon here, a tendon there.
Right.
Some small bones.
To some slight difference in the meridians as well. With the proposal that you can sort of map and observe your own meridians, because it's just a subtle map of the body, you can meditate and find your points.
Okay, so do you have I don't know my meridians obviously. Do you know yours? Do you have?
Well, as in they're roughly run through the body as said, but maybe an inch to the left or an inch to the right.
And then how would you locate them? Is this sort of, you're just feeling it out?
So you can literally go to Google Images and pull up a map of...
I'm on Google Images now. I got a map of meridians.
The triple warmer. So the triple warmer runs from triple warmer meridian. It runs from one hand up the arm, sort of across the body. I think it runs down the other arm. I'm not sure.
You see triple Walmart?
Warmer. W-A-R-M-E-R.
W-A-R-E-R. Alright, triple warmer.
Sort of see where it is. So in the meridian system, the triple warmer, every other meridian is sort of associated with an organ, and then the triple warmer isn't. And it's proposed that there is an imaginary organ because it acts as if it is, just like the rest of them. But if you take the point at the top of your ring finger, over here, and you put all of your attention in that spot, right? And you just you can close your eyes, you can keep your eyes open, just internally putting your attention in that spot.
Is it the line down here?
Right. So as you put your attention in that spot, what do you notice? You start to notice.
Yeah, I start to notice the line, but that's the ulnar nerve.
Potentially, and the proposal is some of the meridians line up to nerves and whatnot.
Yeah, that innervates also the pinky as well. So you can feel it. Don't necessarily do this because it's super not good, but there's your funny bone essentially. If you hit it really hard, you shouldn't do that, but if you do it, you should feel tingling all the way down.
Right. But so the other thing you might notice if you put your attention on that spot is that your body heats up. It's called the triple warmer because
I'm actually feeling kind of warm right now.
Pick a different time maybe when you're not already feeling kind of...
But I'm also like self-conscious because I'm doing this on video, so I do get warm like when.
Look, a bunch of people might watch this video and do it and be like, "Nothing happened. You're an idiot." That's the, like, this is an experiment, right? Maybe either it happens or it doesn't. Have to maybe try it for a little bit longer. Maybe there's a way to do it so that it causes the heat. When I do it, it's like, oh yeah, obviously, like I start to heat up. Like, okay, cool. Try not to do that too long because it gets a little bit uncomfortable, like weird.
So do you do it when it's cold?
Yeah.
Like if you're cold and you're like, I don't feel like getting a sweater. Okay, let me just do a quick meditation. Like.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty cool.
Myself. Which is, it's called the triple warm. It's fascinating. And then so I've done lots of meditating and like sort of mapping out where can I see the points. And I look at the picture and I'm like, okay, where's mine? And like sort of feel out and try and see if I can notice where they are. I would say this is also useful because various subtle systems can get subtle types of gunk caught in them. And so if you can scan your system and see if anything needs rearranging, tidying up, whatever, then you can probably like clear out the psychological crap that is stored in your interior system. Yeah. And then there's this question, like, let's say I did pick up some anger and I did lock it into my system, and I leave it there for 10 years. Is that gonna like cause that? Is it actually gonna end up in disease? Is it actually gonna end up with physical ailment? Right?
Yeah. Like I want to see like predictions and stuff. You know what I mean?
Right. So there's let me add another map on top of this. So there's a map.
So like wait. So just to reiterate. So this one you had a prediction. So this one, that it goes all the way there is that's just like a thing. Like that's the ulnar nerve. It does that. It goes also through under here. So if you have like tension over here, it can like cause problems. There's a plexus under your armpit that like goes through and it's exposed over here, and then I believe over here as well it can be. And so like that's like that's nerve, and I guess like maybe they didn't really know about nerves or something, so like, or this is the way that they talk about nerves.
Well, it's not necessarily, they did know about nerves. They did lots of cutting out bodies.
Okay.
But what they were trying to map is an interior experience of some phenomenon. So there's the exterior experience where I cut it open and I see a nerve, and then there's the interior experience of
like what
that thingy-majig feels like. Now, it may not actually be the nerve, it may be something else that happens to appear anatomically. And the thing about meridians, and I think the thing that we will be learning in the next 10 to 20 years, is that they're probably more like related to the fascia than they are related to the nerves.
Yeah, you love the fascia.
Yeah. That's another map of the body. There's fascia all over the body. It's an extracellular matrix. It holds every organ, every muscle, everything in a sheath. 70% of your body's nerves terminate into the fascia. And so you can expect that when you feel the sensations in your body, a lot of that is the fascia. And it seems like the way that it organizes may cause meridian lines, but the problem with meridian lines is we can't see them. We're like, if I take a scalpel to the body and I say, show me the meridian lines, I'm not going to find it. But the problem is when we do anatomy, we cut away all the fascia so that we can see the muscles. We do this amazing thing where we're like, let me see those organs, I'm going to cut away all this fascia.
Yeah, people do not appreciate the fascia as much, I think.
Yes.
But it's also because it's like hard to...
Here's my prediction. 20 years, the fascia will become a new organ of the body, and it'll integrate into the medical system, and we'll start giving a shit about it because it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And it causally links some of the Eastern and massage traditions into medical science, where we know that if you massage things, certain conditions get better.
Yeah.
But we haven't got why. Why do they get better? I also think
we know a lot of stuff, like a lot of the massage and the Western traditions, like RMT here, which would be a registered massage therapist. Probably it's something similar in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
They do, their specialty is the soft tissue, right? So that would include fascia as well. And they know hey, the muscles work in this way. We have all these techniques. This is how or so a lot of the stuff they don't know, like the trigger points. They don't. Trigger points are a big one. Actually, I'm surprised you're not super into that. Where you can like press on a muscle and it makes a pain somewhere else, and like they don't know how that works. They're just like, it just does.
Yeah. And so we've gotten to the point where there's some acknowledgement that it just does, with the big question mark of how and why.
Yeah, they're like, nervous system is like kind of
right.
The answer.
My prediction is, this is a prediction, you know how we don't know what causes DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness?
Yeah, I think
we have some theories like it's the lactic acid buildup.
It's not really just the lactic acid, yeah.
We don't formally know what it is. I think the answer is it's in the fascia, and it's in the fascia needs to stretch in order to accommodate new muscle growth, and it needs to change shape. And that changing shape, you know, you only get DOMS if you've never really exercised before for the first month. Once you've like done that,
if you're regularly exercising, you don't really get it. Some people do.
Some people do occasionally. If you do like 500 squats today, you might get DOMS.
Like my wife got that. Like for me, like when I was working out, like pre-COVID, like the first time I got it, and then it kind of like, and the second time a little bit, and then, but she had it where it was. Sorry, did I interrupt you?
No.
She got that a lot. So you're saying it's the fascia?
That's my proposal. I
That's
would be super excited if anyone took any notice of me and tried to figure out.
That's interesting. I think it would. The fascia might make sense for trigger points and stuff.
Particularly because so I say DOMS is fascia also because we know that you like foam roller it out, which is what we do for like other massage modalities is about working with the fascia as well, and you know that's how you
even the Western stuff. There's a stuff called rolfing or rolfing.
Yeah, rolfing.
Rolfing.
But there's anatomy trains. There's rolfing. There is visceral manipulation.
Rolfing is so painful.
And so there's all these modalities that work for probably with the fascia. There's what's her name? There was another one too. No, that was Rolf. Rolf.
Like doing that.
Yeah.
But you do it in the places where it's most painful.
Yes. And possibly what has happened is the fascia has gone rigid and stuck, and as we roll it out, it then gets freedom again.
Yeah, that's what they say. It's like saran wrap; it gets like sticky.
Yes.
It clings.
So there's a map there. There's the fascia that like isn't yet in the Western medical system. It should be.
Fascia is part of it. It's just not.
Not acknowledged as anything significant.
It is. It's just not. Like, I don't know, it's not sexy.
Not like, you know, you might have a heart surgeon. You don't have a fascia surgeon. You might have
the fascia surgeon would be
like an expert
osteopath. It would fall under that.
Yeah, but osteopathy is still in the Eastern weird shit. It's not in the mainstream Western.
Yeah, because it's...
So osteopathy has like a variety of... You have the osteopath who gently holds your head and does craniosacral osteopathy.
Yeah,
and then
I don't think that one works.
Full body massage guy, and they're both called osteopathy.
Yeah. Well, because osteo is like the bones, so it's like they're studying the like soft tissue and bones.
Right.
Which is what it would fall under. But it's hard to do experiments on and stuff, the fascia.
Yes.
Like it's actually hard to science it.
As I said, if you're in an argument with your wife and it's showing up in the left hand of your body, and I take another downer with your wife, and he's in an argument with his wife, it may show up somewhere else in the left hand of his body. Just because he's conceptualized it as judgment, and you've conceptualized it as her mothering you, and he's gone, she's being a baby, and you've gone, she's mothering me, or something. And so you've your relationship to that whole argument phenomena is different, and therefore you should expect it in a different area of the body. But it makes it really hard to map out and make useful predictions, because I can't say everyone arguing with their wife is going to feel it here or have a phenomena here.
Right. So what could you say then? Could you say then like people that feel like they're being people that feel like they're being mothered or being babied too?
Yeah. So let me make some concretes that I know I can make. I know that when I examine anger, I end up with heat in the body. My body just somehow heats up more.
Yeah.
So there's some connection between anger and heat. The other thing I notice with anger is higher blood pressure. And to be clear, that's not necessarily a higher heart rate, it's a higher blood pressure, which is super interesting. So I predict that someone who is angry all the time will end up with higher blood pressure all the time and possibly related conditions to that.
I think that's pretty common knowledge. But yeah.
It's when you run that condition over 10 years that you start having like a heart condition or something. Or like, you know, maybe they should drink more water so they're less dehydrated so the blood flows easier even though they're angry all the time. Maybe they should address the underlying anger.
But they really should be dealing with the anger.
Right. So in contrast to higher blood pressure, and literally the pump, right? The poof, the pressure of each beat of the heart, right? Fear increases the frequency of the heart. You know, everyone knows this.
Yeah.
Right. So there's some way in which the physiology of anger causes blood pressure, and the physiology of fear causes heart rate. Right. So I predict someone who is fearful all the time, someone who is anxious all the time, will have a different subset of problems than someone who is angry all the time. As it is, fear or anger all the time will cause huge problems for your entire life. You better try and sort those things out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that definitely sounds right. Like, fear, let's say, disembodied fear, I think, is anxiety. Is how they say it. So, like...
Yes.
So, like, you're getting... And you get, like, panic attacks from that. And, like, that feels like... That could feel like a heart attack.
Mm.
But it's not. Like, it's like it's not your heart. It's the vagus nerve or whatever. But it...
Mm.
It's like,
right.
Yeah, like that would be a different subset of problems, I guess, than fear versus anger. So
there's other like vague predictions. There's a third emotion there, which is sadness, which I don't really understand. It sort of seems to soften the body, which has its own thing. I can't really make predictions around that because I need to examine it more closely myself.
Oh man, you should see babies. When they get sad, it's just like pure like it's just like pure sadness. It's pretty cool. It's almost like an actor. Like you only see that like adults can only get that sad if they're like actors or something.
Like the purity of experience.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So there's another subset of diseases which are conditions where the immune system attacks the body. Right. So you've got things like MS. You've got Guillain-Barré. You've got
autoimmune diseases,
autoimmune diseases, right? Yeah. There's an irritable bowel syndrome where it's the immune system. There's there's the body attacking the nerve.
I don't think. I mean, it depends on what you mean by immune system, but yeah.
There is one type of bowel. Maybe it's not called irritable bowel, but it's a different type of irritable bowel thingy, where it's the immune system attacking the. There's leaky gut. There's
there's a bunch of different. I think IBS has like colloquially at least it's a bunch of different phenomena.
So there's a proposal from the weird metaphysical predictors that instances of self-criticism will over the long term manifest as the body attacking itself.
Okay. So
that, like if someone attacks their own nerves, if someone attacks their own whatever part of the body, their own neurons.
So I bite my nails a lot. Like does that count?
Well, are you critical? Like if you are long-term critical.
That's like self-harm a little bit. Yeah.
I don't know if biting your nails is self-harm. It's outside your body. It's fairly harmless. You could groom yourself by biting your nails.
Yeah, I do it a little bit shorter than I should.
Look, I have a friend who after his mother passed away, he just sort of stopped biting his nails. Like, you know, a 50-year problem suddenly like disappeared because it was connected to a level of stress in his life, and then he only noticed because he started needing to cut his nails, which he usually just chewed in order to get rid of them, sort of thing.
Wow.
And so I would say that's more like a
yeah, like that feels like it says something.
I don't know if nails are always your mother or anything like that, but I'd say like biting your nails. I bite my nails when I'm stressed or when I'm like. I've noticed a little bit when I do it. It's like, oh, I'm thinking, I'm churning about a thing, right?
You're chewing on something.
Stress churning. Yeah, like a mental stress churning phenomenon going on. Anyway, there's something there. I don't really know what it is.
Okay, yeah. So like that would be like a stress response. So not let's biting your nails, but let's say like the self-criticism. So someone's like always putting themselves down. You would expect
Right.
those people to have like correlated with like some sort of autoimmune disorder.
Right. Right. And this is tricky because one person may do it in a way and then forgive themselves, and another person may keep beating themselves up. And so you should expect the pathology would look different if it's got some forgiveness.
Right. So if it's like over a period of time that sort of stays that way or it gets worse, then you would expect there to be an autoimmune response. If it's like self-criticism, but then like they're working through the stuff, then it's less so.
And we can hopefully, what we should be able to do is be predictive with this, right? Because what we have all around the world is patients in wards, right? And you have the like this ward or the that ward, right? And so we should be able to find doctors who specialize in autoimmune conditions and ask them, what's the personality like of your normal patient?
That's a good question. And this is this is actually very doable.
I'm actually surprised that we haven't already found that correlation. Like, all you need is a doctor who specializes in diabetes to start noticing that all their patients are the same person, Like, why are all my patients sort of very similar in personality, behavior, attitude towards life?
Yeah. Like diabetes. Like with diabetes, I think it's there's like a thing like that like diabetics don't take their medication a lot.
Right.
I think it's like one of those like really high ones. But usually that's like they correlate that, like they say it's related to, like if you have diabetes you probably had a bad diet, and then if you have a bad diet, like you're not good at like doing that stuff.
So I don't know about diabetes enough. I haven't.
But yeah, let's say other autoimmunes.
Metaphysically stuff to propose what it is. But I suspect someone out there is willing to say it's probably this or probably that. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say the self-criticism autoimmunes. So what personality disorder would that be then? Because you could probably just correlate it with a personality disorder.
So you'd expect like extra judgment in that person. What would be cool? This is fun. So let's say you're a doctor treating autoimmune things, right? And then you have an office in which you see your patients, right? You should expect that if you have, for example, every one of your patients is extra judgmental, you should start to change your office because you don't like being judged, right? Obviously, who likes being judged? And so you should start to tidy up your office. So we could go look at the doctor and expect that their office should be tidier if their patients are all judgmental, if they have a life. It's an extra layer.
Yeah, once you start adding these things, the effect sizes, I think, reduce significantly. As well as if there's self-criticism, they're not necessarily critical of others.
Right, so critical of others is tricky because it may have two sides to it. It may have, I'm critical of myself being like that, and therefore I'm critical, I don't like myself when I'm too controlling, and so I get extra judgy of other people when they're controlling as well. And so there's an exterior manifest, but there's also an interior manifest, where if I'm too controlling, I criticize myself. Well, do I criticize myself? I don't know. Or do I just not like myself, or do I feel guilty?
Yeah, because you would want it the other, because like if you're just critical in general, that's like something different than like sort of self-directed criticism.
Right. So we're specifically looking at self-directed for the autoimmune, and possibly different autoimmune conditions would be self-critical in different ways, or critical of different parts of yourself. Like different parts of your psyche would show up in different parts of the self-attack, like the body attacking itself. So
like if you're critical of your thinking, that's like kind of brain cancer.
Right. So brain stuff is weird, and I haven't quite worked this out. But there's we sort of have this thing where we have the gray squishy thing, and then we have the rest of the body. And if we're mapping the body and the brain as having a relationship to the phenomena in our experience, and we're saying like, well, this part of the personality appears here, here, and here, Well, something that appears in the brain is like a growing hole in your map or a flaw in your map. So, in the way that, for example, you may get a heart attack because of your inability to love or express through heart type phenomena, you may get a problem in the brain because your map is wrong in a way that is deadly. Like you're in denial of reality in some way, or you refuse to see something in the world or believe something in the world that should be obvious. But that's tricky because brain cancers are rare, and again, like I said, with cancer, I haven't had enough time to investigate to really try and hypothesize about what's going on there. I don't know enough people who've had cancer. I know, in fact, right, so interestingly, breast cancer, right? A cancer of the breast. Possibly connected to sexuality and maternality, and with a great question mark of like, what would cause, first of all, what the heck is a cancer in relationship to the body? You've got some weird growth that is going autonomous and doing its own thing.
Yeah, I think it's generally like the cell is supposed to turn off and it doesn't.
Right. Or the immune system is meant to regulate and it doesn't.
Yeah.
In theory, we get like 20 cancers a week, but our immune system usually like stops them and recycles them because cells are smart.
Yeah, so it's like telling everyone that they should be alive and they're just growing unchecked.
Right.
Essentially.
The fourth wave of cancer treatments is more like an immune system booster to help your immune system fight those cancers.
Oh, cool.
It's we had the wave of poisons and then the wave of like more targeted poisons or like where it goes
like the radiation where they can get it like they could do this radiation where it's like a circle or something where it just like hits pinpoints where everything else is just lighter.
Right.
It's crazy.
Chemotherapy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So there's a new generation that is, medicine's kind of slow moving, but coming where it's more like activating your immune system to address the cancer.
Okay, that's cool.
With the proposal that it was meant to be doing that anyway, and for some reason it stopped doing that.
Yeah, like if you could figure out how to tell the body to target it, then
right. In fact, nearly all of our healing processes are get the body to heal itself. Like you set a bone so that the body heals straight. Like you cover a wound so that the body heals itself.
Yeah. So a lot of like wound care is just like keeping infection out, really.
Well, so much of our medicine is just help the body to do its thing.
Yeah.
Various ways, which is fascinating.
Evolution is awesome.
I'm cautious with cancer. I'm like, I don't fully understand cancer. I don't want to make too many predictions about cancer because there's some weirdness there that, I just haven't had enough exposure to be like, it seems like this is going on.
Okay, so let's use me as an example because I don't want this to be like you shitting on cancer people. So if we use me, then it's like
this cautious thing of like how sweeping of a statement can I make?
Yeah.
Right. So make like a mildly like it looks like that happened there, but I can't. Making strong predictions about the future requires testing, right? So I would like to make weak predictions about the future and then maybe test them or explore.
Yeah.
There's always, as much as there are these weird anecdotal stories of people curing their own cancers using weird spiritual practices. And if there is even one medically verified case of that happening, and there's like a handful of you, everyone's heard one of those stories, right?
There's lots of verified cases of people getting cancer, doing a practice, and then the cancer going away.
Right.
Like that is obviously very true, but
so
like to distinguish that from chance.
But open question: what the heck is happening there?
Right. But there's also like where people have cancer and then they don't do anything and then it goes away, right? So, and there's probably more cases where people are doing things, but that's just because probably more people are doing things, right? Like, so like, would you like figuring out if it's distinct, like figuring out the distinction between that practice and the base rate is what's hard. And it's my understanding that a lot of this, I don't know how much of the stuff has been studied, but I think all the stuff that's been studied is, Well, I mean, it's not fair to say because all the stuff that's been studied, if it turns out that it works, then we call it medicine. If it turns out it doesn't work, then we don't call it medicine.
Right.
So there's sort of like a bias in that direction.
I could say that like some things might be useful. For example, if you go on a long fast, right, and you have a cancerous cell, it starts going hungry as well. Your whole body goes, that may be helpful in general for helping your body recycle cells and finding, like, encouraging it to go for the cancers. And that's like a lot of spiritual practices have some amount of fasting in them.
So there is a thing. I heard a TED talk on this where I think it was a TED talk where for like cancer they just do random shit like you just do just change your homeostasis in some way, and like that sort of does like, well, now there's this new thing, and like now your body's new in this way, and like now that cancer kind of sticks out, and it like it goes away. I forgot what they did.
Yeah, I could like imagine a cold plunge or a sauna, or like these are like fit.
It was something that like they were eating something, like they changed their diet or something, and it was like it's something a way that obviously it wouldn't work, but then it did.
Right. Well, let's look at your cancer. Tell me a bit about.
Well, do you want to guess? Like you've known me for a while, so do you want to like before I tell you? Do you want to make a prediction?
Right. So you've told me at one point that you had a bit of depression. You were living with your dad a while ago, and there was some negative lifestyle sort of experience you went through. And so, if it was connected to that, was it connected to that, or was it around that?
Well, I mean, you're making the connections, like.
Right. So I don't know. You could have had like earlier life negative experiences or something.
I can tell you if it was time-wise where it was.
Was it time-wise? Was it around that period or after that period?
It was like yeah, I mean, the relationship with my dad was negative. Has been negative for a while, but like, let's say that it was the really bad point came after I got it removed.
Oh.
Like not right after. Like, I don't correlate it with that. Although there is a connection between cancer and depression.
So, given that that's the context of your situation, I would imagine the type of cancer would have been on the right side of your body somewhere, for starters. Like, divided by your heart. This is
give it away. I give away the location. It's pretty center, but I think a little bit more on the right.
Okay, so then, what do I know about you? I don't know if I have enough information to predict things. Like, what more information might I need to predict things?
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not good at cancer. I'm like, with other conditions, but I'm not good because I don't understand, like I said, what is happening when you have a cancer? Some part of your body is starting to grow rampant, right, without checks. And so you end up with a lump somewhere that's growing. So what does that mean in relationship to a psyche that projects its experience into the body all the time, right? We have all this sensation going on, and suddenly we have this, like, I don't even know if we have a dead spot. I don't even know if we feel a cancer. Like, can you get sensation from it, or is it?
I didn't feel it.
Right.
Like
so
they just told me.
Potentially, there's like nerves all through the body. To like suddenly there's something that starts growing that has no nerves in it, and so it's like this.
Does cancer not have nerves?
Potentially, you said you couldn't feel it, sort of thing.
I mean, like, it wasn't numb. It just felt like everything else.
Right. So there's a possibility that if it is this phenomena that you cannot feel, that it's something like a blind spot. Like, I'm in denial of, I do not want to look at the things over there, in some sense. And I don't know if that's the case.
Weak, because it feels like the rest of my body, right? Like, so it's like if you picked out like a random spot on my arm and been like, that spot, like, do you feel that spot? I'm like, I don't feel it any more than anywhere else.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if there's something that could be said around cancer like that if it's unfelt, there's a blind spot there.
Yeah, it was also really early, so like kind of really early.
I don't know if there's like one of my theories about the fascia is that the fascial sheaths hold the rest of the cells in place, and sometimes what happens is the sheaths let go in some sense, or the cells break out of the sheets, and instead of being cleaned up, they start growing more uncontrolled. But that doesn't make sense because you could just.
It wasn't fascia. I think fascia cancer is like probably really rare. Usually like things like that, like tendons or ligaments, like any connective tissue, joints, things like that, like because they don't really grow. They don't really have like blood supply. They don't really grow. Like getting cancer in that is like super rare.
There is nodulus fasciitis, which is a rare non-cancerous tumor. I guess fascia is not so much alive. It's a like network of collagenous fibers.
Yeah.
There's no real cells in it. It's just a built network.
Yeah, like they do stuff, but like your ligaments and stuff and tendons or whatever can.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Like they can grow and repair themselves, but it's like really
slow. There's in the body that isn't quite alive like cells are.
Yeah. But yeah, so I had it on my back, my skin. So I had melanoma in situ. So it was still in. It was a melanoma, but it was like in the place, like it hadn't spread.
Right. So on your back.
Yeah.
It was next shoulder blade, you said?
Yeah, like sort of around there. Not really. Like to the medial, like closer to the spine. But like sort of around the shoulder blade.
So there's also something.
I had a couple of them. I had like one melanoma in situ, and then the rest were the other one, the thing right before melanoma that they cut out.
So there's also something to be said for the skin, because the skin is the phenomena that sits between the rest of the world and our body.
Yeah, and I definitely have like it's like that's like image and stuff, and I come across and like I have like serious like mental blocks around that.
That's interesting. So I would have said the skin is the boundary between usually people's boundary between their inside and their outside.
Yeah. Well, because like when people look at me, they look at my skin, right? Because that's the part you can see.
I can't see at least half of your skin. I can't see. I can see.
Yeah, but like you're looking at my face, like you're looking, like you see my arms, like it's skin and hair essentially. Is what like I'm also me. Like I can't see. Like I can see your eyes as well, right? And like I can see the inside of your mouth, but.
Actually, eyes are super interesting because we can see right into people's nervous systems by looking into their eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy stuff. And like the baby stuff, oh my god, like the baby, we give babies in their eyes because like it's all, like they don't have the layers yet. Like he's not complex, he's just like, which is like really cool. It's like hard, it's almost like hard to read in a way because it's like too simple, but like we do a lot of eye gazing and like, we can like feel things. Like it's I feel like I should use more more words, but I don't know how to describe it.
No, it's alright. I get it. So the skin, often people have allergies on their skin, and I've worked with a few people around skin conditions, and it's like an allergy is like an irritation of your boundary of your skin.
Yeah.
So where does an irritation on your skin come from, and why does it end up on your skin? So I talked with someone once who was having like eczema all over the body, kind of uncomfortable, kind of stressed. And I talked to him and I gave him some like mild meditative experiments, and then we got it to, I was like, okay, let's just let go of every irritation you have. Like close your eyes, imagine like nothing matters. Like let go of everything, anything that's remaining, like anything irritating you, just drop it. And he like, it completely dropped. And then he opened his eyes, and then it like instantly came back. And he said what happened is he opened his eyes and looked out the window and realized that his living situation was influenced. He was living sort of on a farm property with some other people, and he was moving shortly. He was doing like a locum thing, like a trading work for accommodation. And one of the people there didn't like him and judged him, and he was feeling like they were constantly attacking his work everywhere, and he was like, "Oh, obviously that's showing up as eczema all over my skin."
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's something interesting about skins that are about the boundary between us and the outside world.
Yeah, that one I think is also like, I think like there's such a thing as conversion disorder in psychology, where like something's happening and like you're like embodying those sensations, or either they're manifesting, or as like a way of dealing with the stress, you're like causing sensations. And I do think that
people can sort of give themselves epilepsy, like seizures. You can get a seizures by Munchausen's. They're like people believing they're sick and giving themselves seizures.
Really?
Yeah, it's incredible.
Like grand mal, like full.
Like partial seizures, I think, and like enough that you're on the ground lying around. Sort of thing.
I've had tics, like I've had stress tics.
And I mean, you probably had the twitchy eye stress thing. Everyone's had the twitchy eye.
Yeah, I don't really. I get that like sleep sometimes.
Yeah. If you're too tired.
I've had that. Yeah.
Right. So that's like a little bit like what it's like to have Tourette, I guess. And I'm not claiming.
Yeah, I think full Tourette's is more of a. It's probably like a flavor of it, but I think like let's say real Tourette's is. Yeah, there's a neurological thing. I think I'm not sure it's necessarily stress. It is kind of stress related. Like there's a streamer, Sweet Anita, who I watch sometimes. She's got Tourette's, and she talks about like her triggers and things like that, and she is able to work through some of her triggers,
right?
Which is interesting.
In theory, it might be possible to work through all of the triggers and remove the condition sort of thing. That would be fascinating.
Yeah,
I would work with someone who had Tourette's.
I would. Yeah. I would love to hang out with her.
I would love to work with heaps of people,
But she got it really bad. Like she's got it. It's almost like another personality. And she has a name for it. I can't remember the name, but and then she welcomes that part of herself. Like she almost does like the IFS kind of thing where it's
nice.
Where like I'm here and my person, the other person is here, and then whoever she's talking to is there, and then like that they're just part of this conversation.
That's great. That's like healthier integration. I have strong like all sorts of things can be cured and integrated with the right types of therapeutic beliefs.
Yeah, I really do feel that way, but then like I've had it sometimes where I'm like okay, and then we're getting to it, and then like we'll hit like a problem, and I'm like. Oh fuck! Now I see why this is the situation, and like I can't solve that. Like that is beyond me.
The furthest I often play with people's conditions, and I get to sort of like we can't go anywhere from here phenomena. But it's not like this is impossible to solve. It's more like I just don't have the tools to work with.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I see why this is happening, and I'm afraid to touch it.
It's not like someone is getting cancer in front of me, and I'm like, oh, your cancer is preventing the cancer. It's often like, oh, this person can't take instruction or advice, or follow a simple procedure in some way, and that's blocking them from coming to the answer or from detangling the puzzle that they're in.
No, I was saying like a step further, and like why can't they take instruction? It's because like when they were younger, they took instruction and they wound up like killing a bunch of people, and like, and then it's like they can't deal with that guilt, so they like hid it from themselves. And then I'm like, well,
you would it in such a way that it would require instruction to help them, and they're blocking themselves from unhooking because they can't take instruction.
Yeah, that happens where you have a self-recursing loop, but sometimes it's also like. I'm sort of like talking about the cases where it's like they've done something and I'm like, well, I don't know how to fucking like yeah, sure, if you were to engage with that guilt and experience it and then let it go, like you would solve this problem, but like that's huge.
You would want to.
Like that's huge. Like how do you get someone to confront like should you even get someone to confront that? Like I don't know, they might kill themselves or something.
Well,
right? Like,
generally it's like the way that I look at these things is if they want to change, I can work with it. And often like as a weird meditative therapeutic healer type, I won't get someone saying like, "Can you cure my cancer?" You know, people don't ask about that. Like people ask like, "Hey, I'm having this sore back. Can you help me with that?" And I'll be like, "Okay, let's take a look." But you know, if someone was like, "I need to get rid of this phenomena condition thing, I'm going to now remove it," I'd be like, "Okay, let's take a look." You know, whatever it is, I'd be willing to. I wouldn't necessarily get there, but I'd be willing to explore, examine.
It'd be like
sensation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you'd be interested in exploring physical health problems from like a psyche or like a mental perspective.
Absolutely fascinated by it, because it's amazing to me how much can be done.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that, and even if there's something here that like even let's say you can't do it, but just like people have like so much psyche stuff wrapped up in what's going on that they often can't even do like, let's say, the basic medical Western stuff that needs to be done.
Right. You know, like everyone knows this, right? How to lose weight? You just eat less and you exercise more.
Yeah.
But we can't just do that for some reason. We got so much. Like, it's incredibly difficult to just do the basics. In fact, I sometimes think dumber people are better at doing the basics because they just do. They just
because they're less burdened by things. Like there's less things happening.
You could be like single-minded on a task in a way that I'm like, well, if I don't eat, and then I do emotional, I myself up, and then I'm like, well, not today because I'm kind of tired, and like, you know. Ugh.
Yeah, like this is one of these things of like evolution. Like we evolved our frontal lobe so that we could like dominate, but like it's like, you know, there's a cost.
Yeah. Yep, there's a cost.
Right.
So I have strong beliefs that a lot of so I've named some of the ones like irritation on the skin being allergies. So
so you're saying like irritated by your environment is sort of
right.
So you know what? I believe that. I kind of believe
that guy was irritated by the farm he was living on. People can be irritated by dust, by plants, by the seasons, by like washing powders, by like dust, like the dead skin sort of dust, like little bits of your dead skin hanging around the room, right? You can be irritated by other people, and you can be projecting it onto, like having it on your skin, but projecting it onto other things.
Like definitely also like the tics or twitches and things like that. And I know from my experience, like as I'm able to relax more around people and like notice the irritations and not just kind of swallow them or like have them show up in weird ways, like.
So interestingly, here's a phenomena that I've noticed that is not yet resolved. And this is my partner. Whenever she rushes, she starts sneezing, and it happened. There's something about rushing, or like if like packing to go somewhere, or like hurrying up, or cleaning, like hurrying up to clean up. There's something about the process of hurrying that causes sneezing, like an irritation of that system. And I haven't worked it out fully yet, but there's definitely like it's like when we moved into the place we're living, we were like carrying things and we were like busy things out of car, and she just started, and we were like moving stuff, and so it was causing some dust, and she started like sneezing a lot, and I stopped and I slowed us down and I said, just wait, and we waited like 30 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes, and the sneezing just went gone, you know, and then it was just the like taking the pressure off, like we have to do, and we have to go busy. Yeah. As soon as that pressure was gone, the sneezing just like dissolved, and you know, as we started to move again, it sort of came back a bit. Maybe there was a dust problem, maybe there was I don't really know what was going on there, but there's definitely potential for an internal psychological phenomena where as I start rushing, then I start breathing differently, and then I start irritating my lungs, and then I start sneezing or something like that.
Yeah.
So, these are, like, I've mentioned a lot of anecdotes. Like I said, I have like little pixels on the elephant. And all of these anecdotes build up to like a fairly strong belief in the metaphysical link between ailments and physical and like the psyche. But
Yeah. See, like for me, I think
I've still made a leap. I've made a leap of faith that all of these stuff.
yeah, and like that leap is, I think, where the useful data is, because like conversion disorder is for sure a thing, right? Like where like just psychologically, like they have neuropsychologists, like this is a whole field where they test people to see, like, are they faking, not are they faking, are they
What are they
like
experiencing?
malingering, or are they like, is this from like a lot of like people get mild concussions, like mild head injuries, and then their whole life falls apart, and like you could do the tests and like there's nothing, like functionally there's nothing, like neurologically there's nothing wrong with them, but like they'll get this hit on their head, and then maybe they just like see things different, or they start projecting, or like, and then like their whole life, and they have all these like they'll wind up having all these like physical symptoms that are like psychosomatic is what they call them, where it's like, and like psychosomatic is like a real, it's like real conditions, right? Like it's not neurological, it's thing, like you're having symptoms that are created by your psyche, I guess. And so like I think there's obviously a set of categories of diseases that is caused by that, and then a set of category, like getting shot is not psychosomatic, and stabbed.
Well, so part of the problem here is in the Western world we create this big separation between the mind and the body, and when we're looking at a condition,
I just did that. Not just Western world. Daniel does that. Okay.
Right. So when we're like, oh, what is this condition? We're like, well, it's like you're unhappy, you're miserable, you're sad or something, or it's like a physical symptom, like you're itchy, right? And they can't possibly, like in the Western world, the contents of the mind is not really treated as the same bucket as the contents of the body, whereas in the Eastern world, they're treated as like one and the same, and with a big shade of grey of overlap over what's what. So,
and you seem to be saying that that's...
I'm siding on the Eastern world, that these things are more connected than we're willing to admit in the West, and we should start listening to the goddamn Eastern world.
Right. So right. So my point wasn't that there's two. Like my point is like I think there's a spectrum here, and then you have like on the extreme ends, you have like the pure psychosomatic, and then you have the pure physical. And I do think that there are things like there's a lens, or there's a way to see the world that makes sense. And like if you sort of like cancel out, like you can cancel out a lot of physical phenomenon, or and then you get like a better picture of the psyche.
Right.
It's hard to do, I think, the other way around.
From my perspective, there's definitely a relationship. I mean, let's face it, the brain is inside a body.
Yeah. And the brain is connected to the nervous system, and like the nervous system like innervates like pretty much everything, right?
The more important question is maybe like, how much are the two systems connected? Like, can you think yourself out of cancer or not? Great question. Who knows?
Right. Like,
yeah. That's ridiculous as well. And then also, well, if I think really hard, maybe I can start solving the need for cancer drugs and like making it available, or like, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of true.
Let me make a better one. Cancer's a mess. I don't understand cancer. Can you think yourself slim, or can you think yourself muscular?
Like you kind of can. Like you could, yeah. Like okay, like if you mean it, like. Okay, so I did a split, and I think you're wanting to like look at it in the way that it's not split, because like you kind of can, right? Like if you have a very if you have like a very like fitness mindset, like you're going to be, and someone looking at the physical world might say, well, it's because you did X, Y, and Z, and they may be correct, but it's also irrelevant because if you didn't do those things, you would have done something else.
Right. led with your fitness mindset, and that led you to exercise.
Yeah, so you're just looking to do fitness whenever you can. And so
Right.
like gray box, maybe there's a leap, like, okay, I see what you're saying now with the jump. So you have like, you change the psyche and then there's a jump that doesn't matter and then you get the results.
Mm.
It's interesting. It does seem like these views are to a certain extent both necessary and also incompatible.
The separation and the connectedness.
Yeah. Like I'm having a hard time like thinking, like having the perspective that they're integrated and having the perspective that they're separated, but also I'm not wanting to let go of either one. Like I want both of these because they're both very useful.
Let's try this. What is the separation? What is the benefit of the separation?
I can see how the physical world works, and I can see how the psychological world works.
Well, what is the benefit of the separation?
I can see how the like what perspective?
Like because they are separated, then we can do certain things, right? I can because my mind and my body are separate. I can force my body to walk up the hill without my mind feeling bad about it.
It's not necessarily forcing, but it's understand. Like, a lot of it comes in the understanding. Like once you separate the two and you understand the physical world in such a way, like it just changes the way you make decisions.
Right, but because they are separate, I can make certain decisions that I couldn't make if they were fully 100% always attached. Like I can.
You wouldn't be. You would lack insight. You would lack certain insights.
Right. It's that I can think ahead and then bring that information back. Right. If I could only move forwards and I couldn't do the thinking ahead thing, then I would have weaker goals in general.
If you couldn't think ahead, you would have weaker goals in general. That's true. But even understanding physics, like understanding like physical sciences, let's say, like right. Even if you're not using them for goals, like just looking at things, like just that, like what you're conscious of, or the world that you're conscious of, is just different than if you didn't understand the physical sciences.
Right, because we can think, because we can separate from the physical experience and go into like a mental phenomenon.
Okay, but then you can slip it back, like go back and forth with that.
Right, so there's lots of benefit to doing that thing. You know, I can plan for the winter ahead because I know there's a winter coming because I've thought about it and conceptualized it and all. So the separation has a benefit like that. The connection also has a benefit because I can then, you know, if the body and the mind is a master and slave relationship, right? Except that I'm the master and I'm the slave. If I treat the body only like the slave, I'm going to end up having a really bad time. If I,
you're forcing this one, I think.
Right, but as soon as I'm like, oh, I need to treat my slave kindly, then I can like, you know, keep my body healthy, eat the right food, like keep the balance, and then it'll like reward me with like healthiness and mental clarity and all sorts of good things. But there's like some connection to the duality there that is also beneficial. You know, if I treat it myself like a brain on a stick, as in like the brain is the important part of me, and the stick just like body.
I don't think you should do that.
Right. I'm not going to be nearly as productive. I'm not going to be nearly as contributive or supportive to reality and society as if I integrate the two and treat my body kindly, so that it creates a kind and healthy space for my mind.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, like what you're saying is that you shouldn't have like, you're saying like this master-slave relationship or coercion or forcing or like, and like I do agree that that's not a good healthy relationship, integrated relationship with oneself, to be that way, where you want all parties to be able to be here and contribute. That being said, like just in all relationships, like sometimes one will be sort of just take over for a while and then
there's
do stuff and then like goes quiet, right?
Right. There's definitely a benefit to having a possibility of imbalance from time to time.
Yeah.
Or even like just like it's permanently imbalanced, and that's also okay.
Yeah. That one is a little less like I'm a little more suspicious of.
It It's not always okay, but it can definitely just go that way and be all right.
Yeah, but
As
like
long as
taking
it's sort of
turns.
consenting in a asymmetric relationship. An asymmetric relationship can be fine.
Yeah, I mean, technically, yeah. Like, I'm not gonna argue with that, but yeah. Like, I'm not even going that far though. Is what I'm saying. I'm saying like taking turns, like for the gym, right? So it's like when I was going to the gym, I don't really like gym, but like I did some amount of research and I found the program that I wanted to do, and then I'm like, okay, this is the thing that we're doing, and so I was like little tedious at the beginning to like get the form right and to like set it up right, and even though like the at the beginning the exercises weren't so good, but I'm like, no, it's like fine, I'll stick with it because I'm learning like this is a good plan, and so the first couple were like I go to the gym, maybe I'm not really satisfied that I got a real workout, but I'm learning the forms and then like sort of like transferring that over to my body. So my body's like getting used to doing the thing. And then like once I was able to like do it like no weights, but like do it properly, then like I added weights and I was able to like add quickly. And I got into this like really nice like virtuous sort of system going on.
Right.
And like I couldn't have done that without like the thinking part.
Mm. Right.
And like doing however many hours of research I did on that, and
So
yeah,
it does seem like both models are useful. Both models do something. Both
yeah,
models.
yeah, and I do think like you probably should be taking turns. Like you should probably be seeing it like split. You should probably be seeing it integrated, and then I guess there's like this maybe there's this view where both these things are true.
Mm.
Um,
Or like maybe each of those is a perspective that you can rest in from time to time.
yeah.
Like I can treat my body as a master-slave relationship, or I can treat it as
Again, you're jumping to master-slave relationship.
I picked that one because it's like
I'm not. I'm saying it doesn't have to. Like you can have a thinker and a doer, and they could be friends. Like
right. So I point to master-slave because before they're friends or like prior in people's personal growth journeys, they usually ignore one. Like they usually tend to ignore the body.
Yeah.
Because the body just kind of like takes the brunt of anything you throw at it. Like when you're little, you eat junk food, you like stay up late, like, and you're like, this is fine, and then you start to learn that there's long-term consequences.
Well, yeah. I think some people. I think this is the route we went. I think some people go the other route where they're just like very body oriented, like more athletes, jobs.
So much.
Sorry.
You don't think, and you think they're not thinking so much? They're just body oriented.
Yeah, like you definitely have like these like jocks or knuckleheads or whatever. Like all they're like pejorative terms, I guess, for those people. But like athletes would be like they're more focused on their body and.
I would have said that athletes also have a big mental game going on too.
Yeah, but I think it's very secondarily to the body.
I don't know. This is also I have not had long conversations with enough athletes.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of athletic friends, to be honest. But like the one like whenever I'm like trying to get into in that space where or like listen to them or whatever where they're like there's this like doing thing of like just do the thing, like don't think about it too much, just do it and then like you'll see it'll work out, you'll figure it out or whatever. And like there's this whole like other way of existing where you just do the things and like you're dumb but like also you're there and you're looking at the things around you, so you don't need to be smart. You could just see what's going on.
Yeah. Right. So I feel like I want to like go back over and summarize, man. There's clearly short term, right? That emotions will cause the body to go a certain way, like the heart rate to speed up, and therefore you can predict like short-term phenomena, and then what you can do is you can say, well, we take that and we spread it over the long term, right? You've been anxious for 10 years of your life. What should we expect? if you have been anxious for 10 years of your life? And does this start to, as we add 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, can we start to expect the onset of certain disease conditions because you've had this ongoing phenomena for such a long period of time? And then, can we resolve the phenomena by resolving the... Now the tricky thing is there's like a window in which humans can exist that involves like a huge spectrum of anxiety, a huge spectrum of anger, a huge spectrum of like negative experience while still living, right? Now,
yeah, like it's going to cause chronic... Yeah, if you're doing it over and over again, like you get this acute stuff, and then if you keep doing it over and over again, it starts to become subacute and then chronic, essentially.
Right. So, as we try to address this psychologically, will we make the condition clear up entirely, and like how much of a difference can we make, and can we sort of prevent diseases by keeping a healthy mind? Great question. I would love to know. I would love to find out the answer. Can we cure certain diseases by shifting states of mind, by rewiring the way that minds work? Maybe. Like, and let's go for a simple one for now, for a moment. People who need knee reconstruction surgeries, right? They're somehow knee reconstructions.
Knee.
Ignore hips for a moment, just knees, right? You need a knee, a new bone in your, maybe like a hip surgery, right? So you've got your ball and socket joint in your hip, and they wear each other out, and then you place one with the prosthetic, so that you've got another 20 years out of it, right?
Yeah.
Is there something in that person's psyche that is causing their walk, their physical behavior to be in such a way that it's wearing down their body?
Yeah.
In such a way that we can address today psychologically and cause a permanent lack of a need for hip surgery? Great question. I would love to know the answer.
Yeah, that one for sure. Like that stuff is for sure true, right? Because like, I mean like not 100% of cases, but like a significant amount of cases, it's for sure going to be like a lot of these things are going to be like the way you're holding your body, or the way your posture is, or the way you're doing stuff. It's causing like a mechanical, like it's causing the mechanics to be. It's like your engine's like not like exactly aligned, and then so you do it over and over again. But like once that's ground down, like you can't fix that.
You can't regrow a bone, no. But probably what you can do is like you can more gently in the future.
Sorry?
Instead of so like if you have half ground down your bone, maybe we can psychologically retrain you to use that more gently.
Yeah, and the periosteum, I think it is, there's this like little sheath there's this like smooth thing on the bone that that's like actually in between, like that can, I believe, somewhat grow back.
Yep. Sometimes the cartilage might be able to grow back.
Yeah. And like this one is like for sure true. Like if you talk to like massage or physio or whatever, like any of those people, like they can like fix the problem. Like I've done massage before, and like I could fix the problem, but I can't fix the chronic problem. But I could give the person the exercise. I'm like, hey, do these things, and you'll like stop having these problems.
Right.
But then they don't do the things, and like I'm like, I don't know how to. Like
there's a further question. Well, there's a few questions here. One is, does it have to be like a level of problem that is pathological in order to start causing disease? Like, do they have to be like super self-deprecating for 10 years in order to get that like immune system? Or can it be like just a little bit negative, but like chronic over time? Or can it be just like within the variation of normal that sometimes the person's posture is caused by just normal, like normal is a dangerous word. Could it be that within a balanced, reasonably balanced life, the variations can accidentally cause the need for hip replacement? Or is it that when we see a hip replacement, they've been so far out of balance that they've been wearing out their hip? Now, on the one hand, it seems like as everyone grows old in our society, we need glasses, like nearly everyone, which means that maybe that's like normal variation is for people to need glasses, but not everyone needs hip replacements, which means that some people are wearing out their hips more than others, which means that maybe there is something there we can fix.
Yeah, the word pathological here is a little bit like tricky, because
Yes.
like it's like pathological meaning like it's like of origin of pathology, and so if you're having a pathology, then like there is there is something pathological. But as far as and then yeah, like I think again, like I think the wording is weird because like we're kind of like inside the problem, and so the words stop being useful to refer to things, because like at least really what I'm after is like how could I live my life now so I have the least amount of problems in the future. Or maybe that's just selfish version, but like also like my family and my loved ones.
Yeah, for everyone, for myself and also for other people.
Yeah,
and there's this tricky.
And like that's really what we want to do. Everything else.
Sometimes we trade off, or we can trade off my problem for your problem, right? Emotional stuff. I dump it on you. You have to hold on to it, or like if you want to help me, you have to like receive it and like.
Yeah, that doesn't. That's like very short term, like that works. Like long term, that doesn't work because then everyone just winds up burning. Like there are therapists and people that do that kind of stuff, and then they just burn out and they're done, right? Yeah. Like, oh, we'll do that for I'll take on everyone's problems for a couple of years, and now I need to go see a therapist, and I'll dump my problems on them, and then like you just have like this like circle jerk of like.
There's a proposal that maybe you can be positive some about this, and like problems without yourself gaining.
Yeah, you could, but I think I think actually working through this stuff together is, you can work through it in a way that's maybe like more effortful or slower,
right?
But is like more positive sum in the sense that you're not going to have to carry around all that emotional.
Yep, seems right.
And then that's what I'm after. I think that's what the community practice is referring to. And like I think good therapists do that. Like you like if you're if you're doing like therapy or something therapy adjacent, you want to do it in a way that you're not going to get like complex PTSD from.
Yeah.
Or secondary or whatever it's called.
I think that there's this tricky problem here that whatever we're exposed to, we sort of like blend into. And so if we're exposed to angry people all the time, like if our culture, let's take Israeli culture, right? They're always like, this is how it is, like very strong, confident culture. Yeah. Like, you want this? Buy my stuff. It's the best in the world. You know?
Yeah.
And if you go and live in that culture, you'll start acting like that. You'll start picking up too. And the same goes for if you're a therapist seeing patients. Every time you see a patient, you're starting to pick up their personalities.
Yeah.
And so, even by accident, we start to pick up you look at couples after 50 years and they look like each other.
Yeah.
We start to pick up our mannerisms, our personalities from around us, and we can't help it. Like, that's just, we blend in with what we see. So therapists are just kind of absorbing stuff from their patients all the time. Like, ideally they can sort it out and resolve it and release it, but chances are they're often picking things up. Everyone's picking things up from other people.
Yeah, and
that's society.
Yeah, and definitely like mental health practitioners, like they have a certain vibe. Like I can often just like meet someone, talk to them for a little bit, and then like, wait, are you a mental health therapist? Like,
you're a professional, yeah.
Yeah, because like you're like you've got this like weird pathology. Like they all have this like weird pathology that like.
So there is something to be said for containering, which is like, I hold myself in a container that supports my psyche. Wherever I go, whatever I do, and my container also holds the people around me. And so that means like, it's as simple as I'm a good person, right? I'm a nice person, I'm a kind person. Someone's upset in front of me, I'm going to be kind and nice to them. Like, I'm just prepared to do that for myself if I'm upset, for them if they're upset. And like...
That's different, because like circlers would, like people that circle a lot have that, and it's different than the mental health care.
Right. Yeah. So there is the
that's them just having the skill.
There's like another version that is like, oh yes, mental health people.
Yeah. Those are different phenomena because in circling you don't put up with people's bullshit, right?
Right. Well, you're willing to be kind to people, but you're also not willing to put up with their bullshit if that's Circling's tricky. I gotta like.
Like you'll put up with the bullshit for like a session, but then you're not gonna circle with them again.
Or you'll be like the next time you'll call it out or something.
Yeah. Yeah, like if you're putting up with people's
last
bullshit chronically and circling, you're not doing it right.
Right.
From like a mental health, like a professional Western viewpoint, if you're putting up with people's bullshit in therapy, like that's how they're trained to do it a lot of the times.
You're sort of. I think that therapists hold a perspective towards the client, and so the perspective might be like, hey, I can listen to you, and I can, if the client is having a bad time, they are learning that they can listen to themselves. So by the therapist constantly doing nothing but listening to them, putting up with their shit in some way, the client's like, oh, I can put up with my own shit. They're just learning that by osmosis, by transference. Now that could be pathological, and so hopefully the therapist is doing something more dynamic than just putting up with their shit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I'm saying this as like a person that doesn't need therapy anymore and is not there, like, you know what I mean, like I'm able to say like all this bullshit because it doesn't come back to me in any way. But yeah, like the therapist, I think when I say that, they're like, oh, you like they do a lot of like reassurance, which like circling or any like these kind of psychotechnologies, like you're not doing that. You're not reassuring people all the time because it's not good for them long term. But I think the therapists, they often see people that are in like a more acute phase where it's like, I need to reassure you, like talk you off the ledge, calm you down, inform you what your mental illnesses are, how it manifests, like prognosis and treatments. And then like they're getting into that mindset, and once that person's in that mindset, they're able to do it, and their job is like kind of done. Versus like the circling will sort of take over after that, where the person's like, oh, I have these conditions and I'm living in society, but I want to build stronger skills, or I want to learn more, I want to whatever, and then they show up to circle or whatever.
I see one of the jobs of, and I'm going to shift away from therapist into like helper profession. One of the jobs of the people in the helper profession is to
the helper
profession, and that can be therapists, coaches, all sorts of.
Okay.
So, one of their jobs is to provide a relationship to the phenomena they're seeing. So someone that has like pain, someone has emotion, someone has something going on. The helper professional's job is to relate to that thing in some way, in a healthier way, maybe, hopefully, but probably in a way that is like more educated and more, maybe, if to use a meditative term, skillful, and teach the client how to relate to that themselves in a skillful way.
Yeah.
And that could involve a great variety of things, including like there's this cool thing that I think coaches can do, which is they can like, if you imagine like a sports coach, right, or like, but like an executive coach, they can yell at the executive, be like, get your shit together. You think you're weak, you need to grow stronger.
Yeah, and some people need that, yeah, or want that.
In the way that I don't see a therapist as being able to do that. A therapist is often a like soft container, like very gentle. But I bet there are some therapists out there who can do that thing.
I did have a therapist that was a little bit like didn't put up with shit. And I like that because it's a lot easier to like deal with. Like I don't like when people reassure me. It just makes me more anxious. I'd rather you just actually tell me the thing. But yeah.
Interesting. All right, it's coming up to the hour.
All right, yeah. I've actually been going for a while, yeah. It kind of makes
it's been a long chat. Anyway, so there's some of my we should call this one metaphysics, right? Metaphysical anatomy.
Okay.
That's the and I recognize there's like big leaps in my reasoning, but there's some pieces that really go together to make my it starts at the emotional and the obvious effect, and spreads to the bigger sweeping possible predictive phenomena.
Yeah, for me, I'm almost happy to just settle for correlations for these kind of things, because let's say it's the other way around. Let's say you get cancer and or let's say you get autoimmune disease, and now because this is what your body's doing now, your psyche is sort of a reflection of that.
Yes.
like that's also useful to know.
That could be plausible, in some of the instances. Like, let's say you were born with one leg slightly longer than the other, and so your walk is slightly different, and so you wear down your hip, and so your entire personality is shaped more like this.
Yeah, like that's gonna have
like this.
Yeah, like that's gonna have all kinds of like psychological effects down the line.
So I believe it's possible there's a two-way street in many ways, and these things require more research to understand.
Well, I didn't say two-way; I said correlation, which means that it could be like any like the relationship could be like. I looked this up once. There's like I think 16 different like variations it could be if two things are correlated.
Okay, I see what different correlations.
But yeah, like because even that is just like that's just more information. Like that's a way of when you find things that are correlated, you're able to condense information as well, which is a thing that people don't do. They're always like, oh, but it's causative, this and that. Like, fuck causation. Like, you don't even need causation for it to be useful.
So here's a proposal. I've been playing the metaphysical anatomy-ish game for a little bit longer than you have. I've been
yeah, much longer.
Right, but I've been gathering my correlations.
Yeah.
And now I've got a whole bunch more. And now I'm like, okay, now that I have the correlations, I want to be predictive with this. I want to try and be causative with these predictions. Because I believe I can see that there's a predictive model here. So here's a prediction for you. As you gather more correlations, you'll start moving, you'll have enough, and then you'll start moving to a predictive model. Or like a model that's...
Yeah, so you can have predictive without causative.
Right.
This is a little trick, a little rationalist trick.
Alright. I suspect like there's a move from like evidence gathering to predictive.
Yeah, so I always do that. Like if I'm doing evidence, if I'm like, okay, this is the thing, or I think this is the thing, it's always like I'm always turning it into predictive, because if it's not predictive, it's not real evidence.
Right.
Or it's like evidence of like things happen. But it's just like
A plus B, not evidence of A that causes B.
Like there's no evidence of correlation. Like if two things just happen, like that's not even correlative, right? I have to make a prediction that there's not going to be something correlative, and then that helps me refine. So I'm always doing predictions. But a lot of this stuff I find is very systematic anyway. So you're not looking for like linear causality is not actually like, it's very hard to pinpoint, and it's also not helpful most of the time. You really want to find those like those leverage points within the system, or the like thing that like really often what I'm looking for is like okay, this is the crux. Like if this thing can be changed, then the system can be changed. If this thing can't be changed, the system can't be changed. Right. And it's like really frustrating often because people like to wiggle out of it.
My prediction is that as you gather more evidence, you move to a like predictive correlation, not just correlation.
Yeah, no, I'm already trying to do predictive stuff as correlation. Okay. Yeah, like I'm always doing predictive, but I'm trying to predict leverage points, not causality.
The slope of like the slippery slope of becoming more and more insane, where you're like, cancer is caused by people who want cancer.
No, okay, so I'm not on the cancer side yet, right? Like, this is the thing, because this is the thing. This is why I'm saying like I can't do predictions for the cancer, right?
Yeah, look, I don't actually understand the cancer one.
Yeah,
but a reason that I would think that like I can talk about the phenomena for hip replacement and the phenomena for anger and the phenomena for autoimmune disease, but I can't talk about cancer. I just don't know how cancer works right now.
Yeah, the cancer thing, like we'd have to like the problem with all this stuff, like with the anger, like for these more like acute or subacute things, like you could just see it, right? Like someone's angry, like you could just like see, like if you see like their veins bulging, you're like, I think his blood pressure is higher. Like, you know what I mean? Like you don't need a blood pressure cuff. You can just like see it a lot of the time. You know, like, and that's the other thing is I'm also always looking for large effect sizes so that I don't need to do invasive testing. I could just look.
Right.
Yeah, but for my
interview a bunch of people and get their personalities and then like try and find a correlation in there. The easy way would be to like find a large effect size and then.
Yeah, but I mean, some of this stuff has been proven now, and some of it hasn't. Like they used to think. there's like the whole correlation with like stress and ulcers, like work kind of stress and ulcers, which is a bacterial infection, but
No correlation to stress.
I didn't say there wasn't no correlation. I think it wound up being no correlation at the end.
To stress?
I can't remember if it was or not, but this guy proved that it was like a bacterial infection.
He would go back to pylori and
H. pylori, yeah.
The Doherty, I think.
He wound up just infecting himself, right? He's like, guys, it's not stress, it's a bacterial infection. I can prove it, and then he gave it to himself. And then he took antibiotics and did that, but like, again, like fine, like who cares? Like it's bacterial. Well, I mean, not who cares, because you can take antibiotics. It's actually super useful, but. A lot of this stuff is like fine, like it's this thing, but like you're like maybe it's like a bacteria or something, but like because the way you're living your life, the choice of your marriage, or other things are making an environment in such a way that this bacteria can now flourish, and like that's the thing you want, because if you can build up your immune system, or you can like not have it, then like your immune system will just take care of it. Like who cares? Like you don't need that stuff.
Yep. All right.
This stuff is complicated. Good talk.
Psychotechnologies
What do we call it?
Live.
Yeah, Psychotechnologies Live. All right.
Thanks for coming. I will see you again soon.
Yeah.